Did Texas really spend $40 million on its 2025 roster? Steve Sarkisian has responded to those accusations, and we've got the sound on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro!
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We've got plenty of sound from Steve Sarkisian, including his thoughts on the new look Texas offensive line and the Horns transfer portal strategy, plus a little preview of Texas softball's Women's College World Series opener, which will go down tomorrow morning in Oklahoma City. But we start with this. Back in April, longtime Texas media member Kirk Bohls, now with the Houston Chronicle, reported that Texas was spending somewhere in the $35 to $40 million range for their 2025 roster. And that blew up. Well, yesterday at the SEC meetings going on in Destin, Florida, Steve Sarkisian sat down with the Sirius XM radio, and he was asked about that report. Here's what Sark had to say.
What's frustrating on that was it was a little bit of irresponsible reporting, right? It was one anonymous source said that that's what our roster was. I wish I had $40 million on our roster. We'd probably be a little bit better team than we are. But you know, the idea to think that a lot of other schools aren't spending money to get players. I mean, it's the state of college football right now. It is what it is. And hey, we're fortunate. Don't get me wrong. We've got great support. Christo Connie, our athletic director, does a fantastic job and on our donors, and hey, people are excited, and we've been to the CFP 2 years in a row, and we've had 20 something guys drafted the last 2 years. So it's been great. It's been a great run. I wish I had about another 15 million or so, though. I might have a little better roster, but so
get two or three fullbacks for 15 million.
What's crazy about this day and age that you guys operate in, and I've watched this for 25 years now, this whole, like, the evolution of Twitter and social media and podcast, one guy writes an article from an anonymous source that says that's what our roster is. Mm-hmm. Everybody ran with it, and I'm talking real publications ran with it, and it was like, that's what's going on at Texas. Nobody asked me one question. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, sure, but if that's what you think, that's fine. If that's the narrative you want to paint for our team, that's fine, whatever.
So there's Sark, clearly not thrilled with Kirk Bohls' reporting, saying it's inaccurate, and also saying, that's kind of the era we live in right now, where the first number that gets out there, that's the number that people are going to run with. I remember, Jimbo Fisher got into it over a Reddit user a few years ago. Some guy named Sliced Bread had accused A&M of spending X amount of dollars on their roster, and that became a national storyline. Like, that's just how it works in today's college football. People just run with whatever they hear and whatever they see, and that's what happened with this Kirk Bohls report. I mean, when that initial report came out last month, there were multiple other reporters that disputed those claims right away. I mean, Horns 24/7, Inside Texas, Orange Bloods, On Texas Football, all of those insider sites came out and said that, no, those numbers aren't true. Like, yeah, of course the roster isn't free, but it's not $40 million, and it's really not that close to that number either. So I think that gave you reasons to believe that maybe Bohls and his source, whoever it was, were a bit off on this and felt like irresponsible reporting at the time, and that's what Steve Sarkisian just said. Now you've got another reason to believe that, maybe those numbers are a little bit outlandish. And Kirk Bohls doesn't have the best reputation amongst Texas fans. I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody here. People think he hates the team and roots against the team and wants the team to fail. Look, his job is to not be a fan. He's a reporter who covers the team. But I think his job is to report accurate information about the team that he covers. And I don't know, maybe his job is just to get clicks or reads. Who knows in 2025? The journalistic ethics that I was taught about in school, they don't seem to be a thing anymore. And maybe Kirk Bohls and all of these reporters out there just get paid off of people talking about his stuff. And if that's the case, hey, congrats to him, because that thing blew up right away and it continues to be talked about weeks after the story dropped. But, you see why people get mad at him, and you see why people get mad at the media at times. Here's the reality of the situation. If you're a Texas fan, this is how it's going to be. That $40 million number is out there. That's the one that went out first. That's the one that went viral. That's the number that everybody saw. And guess what? People hate Texas. That's the one that's going to make Texas look the worst. So even if it's not close to true, I don't think it is. And I think we've got enough evidence now from the head coach, but also for people who, are very close to the Texas football program telling you that it's not accurate. You're going to hear about it whenever Texas loses a game this season. Just ask Ohio State fans, right? I mean, the Buckeyes ended up getting the last laugh, but man, last offseason, somebody reported that their roster cost, $20 million? They spent that much money to build their 2024 team, and that blew up and went viral. And when Ohio State lost to Oregon, and really when they lost to Michigan at the end of the regular season, that was the thing that everybody pointed out. Like, oh, you spent that much money and you can't even beat this team? You can't even beat Michigan on a down year? Like, they're horrible. They're getting boat raced by a bunch of other teams, and you spend all that money and you can't even beat them at home? What's the deal? That's how it worked. Ohio State got the last laugh. Again, they won it all. Nobody's really talking about it now. And if they are talking about it, they sound pretty dumb. But that was a huge storyline for them. I mean, it was talked about on College Game Day and on Big Noon Kickoff and on Twitter and by reporters, and everybody was talking about the Buckeyes and how much they spent putting together their roster. That's going to be the case for Texas. It's going to continue to be a talking point this offseason. And if the Longhorns slip up, whether it's week 1 against Ohio State or against Georgia or just at any point in the season, whenever they lose, just get ready, because that's going to be the exact narrative that you'll hear from the Texas haters out there. The hope is, regardless of how much money Texas spent on their roster, again, it's not free. It's not cheap. Sark talked about that in the cut that we just played. Like, they're doing okay. They've got plenty of support. They've got a great athletic director. They've got great donors who have been supporting the program. Texas ain't hurting for money right now. The hope is that, Texas does what Ohio State does last year. Just win the whole thing. If people say Texas only won it because, they paid X amount for their roster, just flash the ring in their face and laugh it off. Or you can play the clip from the Chappelle Show. Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. You can do that too. Shouldn't matter. Everybody pays now. It's legal now. You're Texas. You should be doing this. Flex your financial muscles. Use your resources and go out and win, and then brag about it after. Like, I say this all the time. I've said it before on this channel. I'll probably say it again on this channel. Be grateful, if you're a Longhorn fan, that your favorite team can do what it needs to do in this era of college football to compete at the highest level. NIL has been a great thing for Texas. Texas isn't the only school that's benefited from it, but Texas clearly has benefited from it, especially when it comes to football. Enjoy it. Enjoy that it exists. Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah, it needs regulations, but yeah, it's clearly helping the Longhorns right now, and hopefully it helps Texas bring home its first national championship since 2005. So embrace it, but hopefully the Longhorns get the last laugh. But there's Sark. I think that's the first time in front of a microphone he's publicly talked about that Kirk Bohls story, saying, yeah, it's not true, and that he'd love to have an extra $15 million to help build their roster. Yeah, that'd be nice. I feel great about where Texas is right now, and they're going to be a preseason top 3 team in America to open up the 2025 season. They're loaded, but if they had an extra $15 million, I'd feel even better about the Horns' chances to win it all this coming season. By the way, if Texas is spending $40 million on the roster, again, they're not, what's everyone else spending? I mean, I think everybody knows that transfers are making more money than anybody these days. I know people will look at the Longhorns' #1 high school recruiting class and say, oh, yeah, how'd you get those guys? Again, it's not free. Not saying it is, but the portal players are the guys who generally cash in the most nowadays. Texas's portal class ranked 24th in America this offseason. They only brought in 11 players. What do you think the top 5 teams spent to put their rosters together? What about the teams that brought in like 30 to 40? I think North Carolina brought in 41 transfers this offseason. What do you think they spent? Less than Texas? Nothing at all? Find it hard to believe. Maybe Kirk Bohls needs to report on those teams instead. Maybe then we'll get to the bottom of all of that. But there you go. Again, whatever the number is, embrace it. Kirk Bohls was wrong. Sark talked about it. And, just brace yourself, Longhorn fans, because that storyline, even though it's not true, is not going away. All right, we've got more sound from the head coach. Steve Sarkisian talked about the Horns portal strategy, speaking of the transfer portal. He also talked about the development of the Texas offensive line and just the future of the transfer portal as a whole. Do we need just one window instead of the two that we've got right now? Sark gave his thoughts, and we've got the sound for you coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. There we go. First, a word from our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Oh, yeah, the conference finals are going on, and in just a couple of days, we will have the NBA finals ready to go. Someone's going to be hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy. Will it be Oklahoma City? Will it be Minnesota? Will it be Indiana? Can the New York Knicks come back? The action is spectacular, and it's happening every single night. And there's no better time to get in on all of it than right now. And our friends at FanDuel are here to hook you up. FanDuel makes it super easy to stay in the game, whether it's before the ball is tipped or after tip-off. They've got more ways to win than ever before. In-game betting, same-game parlays, performance trends, whatever is your speed, they've got you covered on FanDuel.com and with that FanDuel app. And how about a $200 bonus bet? Yeah, that will help a little bit. You want to win even more? $200 in bonus bets? That's going to help your bankroll. It's super easy. Right now, for first-time customers, if you just head over to FanDuel.com, you place a $5 bet. If that bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets just like that. No questions asked. Again, FanDuel.com, you place a $5 bet. If that bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with our friends at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. As promised, we've got more sound from Steve Sarkisian, a couple of different cuts in this segment. This one, and both of these, come from his breakout session in Destin at SEC meetings yesterday. We'll play more sound on tomorrow and Friday's shows as well. But for right now, Steve Sarkisian was asked about Texas not adding any offensive linemen from the portal. Again, 11 total additions for Texas, but none of them on the offensive line, and it feels like Texas hasn't done a ton on the offensive line in the transfer portal in the last few seasons. Sark was asked about that strategy and his decision to not add any offensive line.
I think it's important in that we've recruited pretty good here in the last 4 years, and not just the O-line, but a lot of positions, and other positions maybe not so well. And, we've utilized the portal like a lot of schools have, to fill needs. We haven't tried to build our roster through the portal. We've tried to fill needs in the portal. And we just haven't felt like we've had those needs at the offensive line. We've recruited it well. Coach Flood is a great teacher. He's a great coach. We've got good continuity in that room. We've got good leadership in that room. And so I think one of the natural things, I was asked this earlier, people are going to say, we're going to be a young football team this fall. We're not necessarily young. We've just got some new faces. Guys who have been in our program, who've been working on their craft, who have been developing, and now it's their opportunity. They're not necessarily young. These are guys in their third and fourth years in our program that now it's their time to compete and to show what they're capable of doing. And part of that for us is to live through maybe some of the growing pains that we just don't have the continuity that we've had the last couple of years. But there's still a lot of good players that if we felt like they weren't good enough, maybe we would have gone into the portal. But we felt like we had more pressing needs that we needed to address, and that room was going to be good enough for us to compete at a high level.
Hey, maybe if Texas had that extra $15 million, they would have added an offensive lineman. Who knows? But a lot to break down there. Sark talked about his team's transfer portal strategy, right? Not trying to build our roster out of the portal every year. We're trying to fill needs. And I think that's evident with what Texas has done the last few seasons. I think that's evident with what they did this season. Clearly, they had holes on the defensive line. They lost 7 scholarship D linemen after last season. What do? They go out and bring 5 in from the transfer portal. They had questions at tight end after Gunnar Helm, Juan Davis, and Amari Niblack all left the program. What do? They go get Jack Andrews from Cal. They had questions at kicker. They had questions at receiver. Like, they went out and addressed holes on their roster. And they feel like offensive line is not a hole right now. But I like that strategy. You don't need to get 25, 30, 35, 40 players every year. I don't think that's a recipe for success. You use transfers to bolster your roster, but you got to recruit and develop from within. Texas has done a great job of that in each of these past 2 seasons. And it's hard to disagree with that logic when it comes to the offensive line. I mean, Texas has been very good up front the last couple of years. They were a Joe Moore Award finalist in 2024. They had a top 10 draft pick with Kelvin Banks. They had 3 guys drafted in April. They also had a UDFA sign with Jake Majors, who had a very, very good Texas career. So all of those guys were high school recruits who developed under Kyle Flood in Austin, and they turned out to be great college players. And again, Sunday players as well. And Sark's final point, or towards the end of that cut, he talked about, the Longhorns as a team not being as young as a lot of people say. Yes, they lost 12 draft picks to the NFL, and they're losing more than 20 key contributors from last year's squad, but they're not all being replaced by underclassmen and true freshmen. Like, there are guys who have been in the program for multiple years who have been getting developed, who have matured, who have worked with Torrey Becton and the strength and conditioning staff, who know the offense and the defense and the playbook and their teammates and everything else. And they've played in actual games. Maybe they haven't started, but they've gotten playing time in real college football games. So when they do get thrust into the starting lineup this year, it's not going to be like, oh my God, I've never done this before. What do I do? Like, no, they should be ready to make that leap. Texas lost double-digit guys in the 2024 NFL draft. They bounced back, made it to the SEC title game, won 2 playoff games, got to the semis in the CFP. This program has already shown once that they can withstand losing players because of the way, again, that they develop their in-house talent. And yeah, the team is just not as young as a lot of people say. A lot of new starters, but you look at the offensive line in particular, your projected starting 5 from left to right: redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior, senior, sophomore. So that's year 3, year 4, year 4, year 4, year 2. Guys who have been here, again, 4 upperclassmen on that list right now. So it's worked for Texas. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. One more from Steve Sarkisian here, talking about the future of the transfer portal. Look, college football is in limbo right now. Conference realignment, NIL, the future of the college football playoff has obviously been a huge talking point lately, but also the future of the transfer portal. Right now, we've got 2 windows, right? One in the winter, one in the spring. The winter one happened during the college football playoff last year. It was December 9th through the 28th. So teams that made it to the CFP quarterfinals had to prepare for a playoff game and at the same time try to figure out their rosters for next season. And, CFP teams, I remember Penn State's backup quarterback hit the portal like during the playoff. Teams in the playoff lost players to the transfer portal because of the horrific timing of the portal opening. So that's a mess. Here's Steve Sarkisian talking about the potential changes he would like to see with the transfer portal and its time.
I don't know the exact timing of when that should be. I do think we're all in agreement that one transfer portal would be beneficial. Again, we're team builders. That's what we do, right? And it's hard to build a team when you've got 2 different portals and you're not sure who's on your team, who's coming, who's going, and you do your best to build a culture to where hopefully you can retain those players and bring in some good players. And again, we've all benefited from that. But I think if we can uniform that a little bit, some point in spring, I think would be helpful. What that exact time is, I don't know yet. I do know from my perspective, for 2 years now, I've been in the playoffs, the back-to-back years. That December portal window was brutal, where we had, I think, 9 guys go in and then 10 guys go in the next year while we were still playing in the college football playoffs. And that was very difficult. So I'm definitely an advocate for that portal being after the playoffs are done. But when in spring, when does that occur? I don't know.
So there's Sark right there. I didn't have to go to Penn State for an example. I could have used Malik Murphy 2 years ago as a prime example, right? Texas lost its backup quarterback before the semifinal game against Washington 2 years ago because of the awful timing of the transfer portal window. It doesn't make sense to do something like that during the season. And it's like you're punishing good teams. Like, you made it to the playoff. Sorry, you don't get to address your roster, but everybody else does. I don't get the logic there. So I think you only need one portal window. The question is, when do you put it? The answer is, well, you don't put it during the season. I mean, that's ridiculous. I think college football needs to do what the NFL does from a marketing standpoint. I know a lot of people, myself included, don't like how much Saturdays are turning into Sundays. I don't want college football to look exactly like the NFL. Don't get me wrong here. But the NFL is king. They market their league better than any sports league in the world. There's a reason why it's so popular. There's a reason why everybody watches and everybody talks about it. They do a great job of having something going on in every single month. So, college football, so much happens in that December portal window. You already have the playoff going on there. So people are already going to be talking about your sport in December. Like, why don't you move that to a time where people aren't talking about the playoff, right? Maybe February. Maybe March, like after the season is completely over, but before spring football starts, because people will be talking about spring ball when that comes around. So you put it in the off season to where you're not ruining teams' ability to plan for important playoff / bowl games. And you're doing it at a time that gets people talking about your sports. Feels like marketing 101 to me. So, late February, early March, sometime in that stretch, or if you'd rather do it after the spring so you can see what you've got in the spring and address your needs now, that's fine. That's better than the current system that we have. Steve Sarkisian is not alone when it comes to complaining about the current format of the transfer portal. Like, it's ridiculous. Nobody likes it right now. If the NCAA did any semblance of work, this thing would get changed. It just doesn't make sense the way it is. But yeah, I would say, right before spring ball starts, February or March, that would feel like a great time. If you don't want to do that, do it after the spring, late April, early May. It's all better than what we're doing right now. So hopefully that's something that gets addressed. I don't know if it can get done before the start of this coming season. Maybe we have another year / cycle. We have to go through this current calendar, but it's just ridiculous, man. Having players, I imagine in the NFL, you're about to play a playoff game. One guy who's going to be a free agent after the year is like, yeah, I'm opting out. I'm going to hit free agency right now because I don't want to play. Like, it's ridiculous. The whole concept doesn't make any sense. And college football is the only sport that does it. And I can't quite figure out why. That's an easy change. That's an easy solution. Some of the problems facing this sport right now, not as easy to solve. To me, that one just feels like the snap of a finger and it gets done. And maybe you won't please everybody, but you could please a lot more people than you are right now. All right, comment below with your thoughts. Do you agree with Sark? Do you agree with me? Would love to hear from y'all. One segment left on a Wednesday show. Today is Wednesday, right? Double checking. Yes, it is. Let's talk a little Texas softball. The Longhorns will open up the Women's College World Series tomorrow at 11 a.m. against Florida. We will preview that matchup and talk about the Horns' path to a national championship coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Wanted to wrap up today's episode by giving some love to the Texas softball team. They've earned it. They're in the Women's College World Series for the third time in the last 4 years. Mike White has done a tremendous job with this program. We talked about it earlier in the week. Texas, boy, they made it here. It was a little scary last week against Clemson. The Longhorns dropped the first game of that best-of-3 super regional at home. They needed extra innings to take game 2, and then they held on for a one-run victory in that winner-take-all game 3 on Saturday night at McCombs Field. It was epic. It was scary at times, but ultimately the Horns are back in Oklahoma City, and they will play the first game of the Women's College World Series tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Central Time. Texas, the 6th seed, they will play the 3 seed Florida. So the Longhorns will be the visiting team as the lower seed. Obviously a neutral site game in Oklahoma City. It's the second straight Women's College World Series where Texas will play Florida. The Longhorns run-ruled the Gators in 5 innings last year, winning 10-0. Wouldn't mind seeing that again. Of course, Texas made it all the way to the championship series in 2024. Wouldn't mind seeing that again. Texas took 2 of 3 from Florida in the regular season. Obviously, they were in different conferences last year, same conference this year. Texas went on the road to Gainesville in mid-March and took 2 of 3 from the Gators. They won the first 2 pretty easily. 7-2 and 13-7. They dropped the series finale with a chance at a sweep. 3-1 was the final there. Big difference, though, between that series and tomorrow's game. Texas didn't have to play Florida's best pitcher, Keegan Rothrock, who was hurt. She missed like a month of the season with an injury. She missed that series as well. She's been amazing for the Gators, especially in the postseason. She pitched complete games for Florida in their Game 1 and 3 victory over rival Georgia in the Super Regionals. Yeah, Florida had to go the distance as well last weekend, and Rothrock, their stud pitcher, was a big reason why they advanced to the Women's College World Series. Just like Texas, they're there for the third time in the last 4 years. But she'll be a test for the Texas offense that struggled in Game 1, but figured some things out in Games 2 and 3. Reese Atwood, Mia Scott, Katie Stewart, they've been doing most of the heavy lifting for Texas offensively. The Longhorn Bats are going to have to get it done tomorrow. Florida's a good team. They're number 3 for a reason. They're top 10 in the country in runs per game and in home runs hit as well. So they are complete. And, we'll see if Texas can get a win tomorrow. It's a double elimination format. It's Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, and Tennessee in the same pod, if you will. OU and Tennessee will play right after the Texas-Florida game tomorrow afternoon. The winner of Texas-Florida will play the winner of OU-Tennessee. That will be Saturday at 2 o'clock. The losers of the Texas-Florida and OU-Tennessee games will play Friday at 6 in an elimination game. So if Texas does take care of business tomorrow, they'll get the extra day off and more time to prepare for what's likely another matchup against the hated Oklahoma Sooners, who get to play the Women's College World Series in their backyard. Again, still feels ridiculous, still very annoying. No one's going to listen to my complaints about that. If Texas loses again, it's do or die Friday night. And that might not be a horrible scenario. Look, if you're Texas, you want to go 2-0. That's best case scenario, because then you're sitting pretty with a chance to make it to a final series. If you lose the first game and win the second game, you actually drop to the bottom half of the bracket, which is a hell of a lot easier. The top 4 seeds remaining are all in the top half, so you almost want to be in the bottom half. If you lose game 1 and win game 2, you will drop to the bottom half. Now, you'll have to win like 3 games in a row to get to the championship series, but even if Texas does drop its second game, there is a path for them to make some noise. But you really want to win game 1 at least to start things off. You don't want to be in an elimination game taking on either OU or Tennessee. Very, very good teams with your season on the line on Friday. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens for Texas. Best of luck to Mike White and company. A hell of a year already to get to this point. We'll see if they can get it done. Again, third time in the last 4 years that Texas is here. In their previous 2 Women's College World Series berths, they made it all the way to the championship series. Hopefully they can get it done. And maybe third time will be a charm. They can actually win this thing for the first time in school history. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. If you made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, please remember to like, rate 5 stars, share, subscribe, leave a comment, all of those great things. Really do appreciate y'all's continued support and can't thank you enough for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Portal Show with Brian Smith. He's got you covered with all things transfer portal and all things recruiting, so you can be the most informed college football fan wherever you go. Just find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. More sound from Steve Sarkisian, more takeaways from SEC meetings, a little Texas softball and Texas baseball talk coming up on tomorrow's show. That's going to do it for today. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.